All right, let's talk Atlanta Falcons. After a rough start this season, Atlanta has turned on the Jets. They've been playing some really good football recently, and a large part of that is the emergence of a really smart strategy. I think kind of an obvious strategy to some Falcons fans, but it definitely is the right move to make for this offense. Great sign for the rest of the year for Atlanta. I'm Nick, and this is Saturday Morning Inspection. All right, so far during the season, at least during the early going, it was a lot of could the Falcons defense, could Kirk Cousins, could they live up to the billing? But the reality is, we all understood this team coming into the season that the clear strength was this offensive line and the running game. And we're starting to see new offensive coordinator Zach Robinson coming up with a great strategy to utilize that strength. We saw it with a massive victory last week, and it looks like the Falcons are building a lot of momentum. Let's pull up the story here, courtesy of Blogging Daily. For the first 5 weeks of the Atlanta Falcons 2024 season, the team relied on their safety duo, Kirk Cousins and Younghoe Koo. If the team won a game, it was one of the three or a combination of all of the above. Sunday's win on the road in Carolina showed a new path for the Falcons to win games. Tyler Algier and Bijan Robinson combined for 200 rushing yards and both made an impact in the passing game as well. For the first time all seasons, Kirk Cousins was able to sit back and wasn't asked to engineer a game-winning drive. A great step for the Atlanta offense and more growth for offensive coordinator Zach Robinson, who continues to make needed adjustments and find ways to help his team win. Yeah, I think this is the right move by Robinson. Obviously, Kirk Cousins and with the weapons at wide receiver, the temptation is just to drop back and sling it. But when you've got this great physical offensive line that can really move people off the football and two really, really good running backs, you got to lean on them. And Robinson is finally starting to recognize it, and it makes this Falcon squad very deadly the rest of the way. Miles, I'm curious what your thoughts are on this. But first, Atlanta fans in the comment section below, got kind of a sneaky big matchup this week against the Seattle Seahawks, a team that started undefeated but has fallen off recently. They're in desperate need of a victory. Time for you guys to see if you can stack some wins together in your own right. Give us your prediction, final score, Falcons versus Seahawks. How do you think it's going to shake out? Let us know in the comment section below. But Miles, what are your thoughts on this latest strategic shift coming out of Atlanta?
Yeah, Nick, I think this is the best way for Atlanta to go forward. And there's a lot of data to back it up. And I kind of want to go through that and also show what they did the first few weeks versus what they're doing now and the difference. Because I think a lot of people will point out it was the Carolina Panthers. They're supposed to beat them. But again, it was a divisional game. Those are always tough. Doesn't really matter how bad Carolina's been at times this season. But I think there's a lot more to it than just that. So if we start out, you talked about it. This team should rely on the running game. And you know why? First of all, to this point in the season, Bijan Robinson and Tyler Algier are the number 6 and number 7 running back in the NFL ranked per PFF. Bijan Robinson an 83 overall grade, Tyler Algier an 82.6 overall grade per PFF. That's very impressive to have two running backs that are really neck and neck. And we all knew Tyler Algier was good a couple of years ago. Bijan Robinson, a first round draft pick for this Falcons team. He is supposed to be the star of this team, and it's about time they start letting him. Because the other thing that you talk about is this Falcons offensive line, who is number 4 in the NFL per PFF in run blocking with the 74.8 run blocking grade. This team is set up to run the football. Since, like you said, Kirk Cousins, these weapons on the offense, Kyle Pitts, Drake London, all of these guys, it's easy just to sit back and sling it. But this team was built to run the football. And that's just not something that they've done through the first couple weeks. And briefly, we'll go through it against the Kansas City Chiefs. 25 rushes total through all rushers, 25 carries through all rushers. And Tyler Algier carrying the ball for 4.6 yards a carry in that game. Probably should have got a couple more touches. Then move on to the Saints. 15 total carries by the running backs in that game. And then that's not even just running backs. That's anyone who touched the ball, receiver, quarterback, whoever it was. 15 touches. Tyler Algier in that game, 7.5 yards a carry with Bijan Robinson, 4 yards a carry. Those are good numbers. Probably should have gotten the ball more. And then finally, the last of, the least, 18 carries against the Buccaneers, where Bijan Robinson carrying it 5.1 yards a carry. Again, probably should have got the ball more. Then we come to this game versus the Carolina Panthers. This is where they start to put it all together. 38 carries for the running backs in this game. Algier, 5.8 yards a carry, 105 yards and touchdown for him. Bijan Robinson, 6.3 yards a carry, 95 yards, 2 tutties for him. I think this was a really great move for Zach Robinson to finally go, okay, maybe what I want to do isn't what's best for this team. Maybe Kirk Cousins coming out and slinging it a million times a game isn't what this team needs. We need to run the ball and use these talented running backs. And we see the results here. It's not a nail biter. It's not a close game. They're able to dominate the Carolina Panthers like they should have. But again, I think this is a move forward for this team to show they have a strategy now they can lean on to be a playoff caliber team. Really, really great news for the Falcons. And I think this is going to be great for them going forward.
Yeah, if you go back to last season, I think it's very interesting. If you look at the teams that ran the ball most successfully, again, according to PFF, four of the top five teams are all really good squads last year. You had the 49ers made the Super Bowl. The Miami Dolphins were a good team. They had injuries at the end of the year. Bills were a good team. Ravens were the most dominant team the entire season. Those are four of the top five teams in terms of running grade last year, according to PFF. It's not directly correlated to success, but it's one of the few metrics that's pretty darn close. And it makes sense, right? If you can run the football, especially paired with a quality quarterback, almost nobody can stop you. This was the secret to the Rams' success when they won a Super Bowl a number of years ago. Everyone remembers Matthew Stafford having clutch moments, but that was Sean McVay's running scheme that obviously Zach Robinson comes from that tree that really elevated them there. Look at the 49ers. We're all very excited by Brock Purdy. He continues to look like a quality quarterback. They got a bunch of great receivers, but it all starts with running the football up front. Even the Kansas City Chiefs, they're a team that when push comes to shove, they want to hammer the rock down your throat. That's how they end up beating a lot of teams last year during their postseason push. You've got to be able to run the ball if you want to be a successful team. It sounds very cliche. It sounds very 2005, but that's the reality of it. It's been this way since football was played with leather helmets. It's the way it's played right now. It's the way it's going to be played 20 years from now, most likely. If you've got the talent at the running back position in the offensive line, you've got to lean on the running game. I know the Falcons are so stacked at wide receiver. Pitts, Mooney, London, Kirk Cousins, veteran guy, of course. The temptation is to sling the football, and every once in a while, he'll have that crazy game like he did against the Bucks, but you shouldn't have to rely on that week in and week out. Robinson's starting to pick up on that. We're seeing the strategy of this team shift, and that makes him incredibly dangerous down the stretch because we all like to talk about it last year, but this was a Falcons team that was incredibly talented. They were just terrible at quarterback. Obviously, with Cousins, they're a lot better. If they can almost take the strategy from last year, paired with Kirk Cousins, more or less, obviously without Arthur Smith and his kind of, I'll be honest, kind of stupid play calling at times, they were a playoff team. And this year they're heading in that direction. And they have a chance in an NFC right now that, except for the NFC North, which is just stacked with contenders, there's really nobody jumping out of the pack. I think the Falcons have a chance to be one of those top contenders in the NFC if they stick to the strategy.